Hello and welcome to Sending Off, a podcast about women's soccer. The NWSL, it's back. We're so back. We saw the Washington Spirit defeat the Orlando Pride in a grudge match for last season's.
Is it a grudge match or just
I
a pity
mean,
community shield win?
see, this is what we're going to talk about. This is what we're going to talk about. But it was a grudge match. There was some tension. Okay, for this
Fair.
season's Challenge Cup, there was tension. And I'll introduce my guest now since he's here. We have ThomBomb from Shades of Blue that covers Manchester City, as well as covering Kansas City Current for Shea Butter FC. How are you?
Yeah, I am fantastic. I'm very excited to be. It's like it's finally like sinking in. Like I don't think like it really sunk in until like I watched the Challenge Cup match. It was like, oh yeah, this is happening soon. And like it was just last season was so much fun. And like I think this season has the potential to be very, very interesting for a lot of people. Like, and so I'm excited to talk about it with somebody.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I have anxiety. I have anxiety about it. And it's not just because I started this podcast. That's part of it. But it's not just because of that. So in addition to the Challenge Cup, we're going to discuss the bullying allegations against BFC's coach, Albertin Montoya, Portland's prospects without Sophia Wilson and others this season, and links that a now former WSL coach could be making the trip across the pond to the NWSL. That'll be very interesting. We have an expert to talk about that. And then, of course, we're going to send something off that is pissing us off in women's soccer. We're going to show it the red card. But yeah, we're going to dive in first, unfortunately, to the allegations against Albertin Montoya. The San Francisco Chronicles, Marissa Injemi. I really apologize, Marissa, if I'm mispronouncing your name. But she's a sterling reporter. She reported that there has been at least 2 formal complaints that have been filed against Montoya in 2024, accusing him of creating, toxic culture as well as bullying. One of those reports was apparently investigated by the club and cleared, while the other came through the NWSL's anonymous tip line. The league's now apparently doing their own independent investigation, but it kind of came across to me from Marissa's report that the investigation was really only started because she asked for comment about these allegations. Is that what it seemed like to you from reading it?
To me, it sounded like, okay, this Montoya Albertine, he coaches my daughter. He's coached her for a long time. Like, I mean, clearly he knows what he's doing. So why do I have to address it at all? And then yes, to your point, like exactly, like the reporter pressed them, and then they had to come out with like a statement about it. Like that's what it sounded like to me. Like because it sounded like this was not. There was like 4 different complaints, correct?
I think 2, and then confirmed by 2 former players. Like, yeah, we felt like this was a toxic culture. At least that's what I got from reading the article.
So, I mean, that's like, that is 4 different or 2 different incidences usually like is a pretty like by 2 and corroborated by multiple sources is usually a pretty good like indicator of what office culture, like workplace culture is. And it doesn't sound like it was a professional workplace. And that's a problem. I would have thought that there would have been more movement on it, like more immediacy, especially like based off of the short history of the league, like the recent history of the league, everything that was reported in the Yates report. And yet here we have like another expansion team with another allegation of toxic workplace culture. Like, and to be honest, this is 3 of the 4 since the Yates report has been released, and only one of those teams does not have an allegation against them, and that might just be because some might consider them a circus show.
Are we talking about Angel City or?
We absolutely are talking.
Okay.
But I that doesn't like from a league perspective, like the culture of the league, that doesn't send a great message. Like this, that obviously, like, yes, you want to be able to bring in more, expand revenue, bring in more teams. I get that. And if we're going to, like, if every one of these new teams is going to have to go through a quote unquote learning period about what is appropriate and inappropriate at, in coaching female athletes, like, that's a problem. Like, and you would think that, like, there would be some sort of like setup communication through the league, is like, these are our policies, and like, we highly recommend that you work within the framework of these policies, and encourage you to expand them, or expand on them as you see fit, but these are like the bare bones minimum, and it doesn't seem like that's been a step taken by the league either.
Yeah. I think what I'm definitely most concerned about is how it's been dealt with, seemingly, from what we can see on the outside. Because I think I saw a lot of people talking on like Blue Sky, like that their expectations are that like no allegations like this should happen. And I think that like no vetting process is perfect. And even if you're vetted and people say in the past that you did a good job or whatever, it doesn't totally 100% guarantee that you're not going to be toxic in the future or do something, make a mistake, do something wrong. But I am concerned that it seems like, one, that the reporting is what kind of launched this investigation. Two, that, there are 2 complaints and the club cleared it, whatever that means, like whatever, who knows what their processes are like, processes. And then 3, what Bay FC has said, their own statement since, this has been brought up, was that that these were kind of boiled down to communication, miscommunication, communication challenges between Albertin Montoya and the players, where, one of the players described their interactions as causing her panic attack. So, that's an interesting way to put it. It's just like doubling down on your coach before like this process is really handled, and also keeping them in that position while this investigation goes on is also problematic to me, because that's going to cloud their entire, however this goes on, it's going to cloud everything that the team does. All of the players are going to have to be managing both their performance as well as this, when it's not their responsibility to. They're going to continue to be asked about it in press conferences until it's resolved. They're going to have to feel like one way, they're going to have to stick up for the coach or stick up for these other players, when, that's just a hard position to be put in, because you don't know how it's going to go. And then your playing time could be, subject to whatever you say. It's become like a political issue.
Yeah, do I, take up for my former coworkers, like, or I could be basically retaliated against for doing so by my boss, and no one should have to be put in that position. Like, it's just an ugly position to be in. But I mean, it's unfortunately, like, that is where Bay FC's players are probably fighting themselves right now, because no one's talking about their first match. Like, everybody's just talking about, like, oh my gosh, like, what's your relationship like with your coach? What is your relationship like? Like, so, and like all of these players that have left, as Marissa, like, I believe it was like what
8 players, I believe, that started last season had either retired, been traded, signed away in free agency, whatever.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a third of your roster. Like,
I do think, like, we do kind of see that kind of turnover with expansion teams, because they don't know who they are yet, really. But you have to look at things like Jen Beatty came over for a season, and she's like, I think I'm done here. It's
like, thank you so much.
Yeah, I also saw a video where she recently described herself as a former Arsenal and Manchester City player, and didn't mention it. I know she played for other clubs too, and those were the two clubs that she spent the most time at and most prominent. So whatever. But I was just like, no Bay FC mention. I wonder how she left that relationship. But yeah, I also just the league, kind of how they've handled it with reporters. Seemingly, I think Leslie Ryder of Gallup Sports posted that she tried to ask a follow-up question in a presser to Commissioner Berman, and that she was muted and not really allowed to ask that. That's just such a bad look for, the commissioner before, Jessica Berman, was resigned, left because she was not addressing very valid concerns that had been brought up by multiple people and kind of sweeping things under the rug. So I understand you want to, it's giving self-preservation and not what we're doing is in the best interest of the players who are the league.
Correct. And I three of the I think what her answer said something to the effect of just because these allegations are happening doesn't mean that
doesn't mean they're true,
or doesn't mean that the regulations that we have in place are not effective. And I was like,
right,
oh girl, you can't say that. There's a way to say that, and I get what you were trying to do, and there is merit to it's a good thing when, or to some degree, when these investigations are triggered, because that means the policies and procedures that we put in place are working. And because two things can be true at the same time. And you can't you can't create open hostility between you and the players in the league, especially since that's what there already was with the previous commissioner. And you have to understand what the context of you getting this particular job was, which was, oh my gosh, we fired this commissioner was fired because it is perceived that she, and it's substantiated that she let a lot of abuse go on her watch. Now we have another commissioner that it seems to be the same thing is happening, from the 3 of the 4 expansion team have had various allegations against them. And I guess you could say the quote unquote best outcome of that is the fact that Utah Royals let go of the coach that they had previously, who was the center of those allegations. But if that's the best case in all of all of those, that's not great. And you still subjected these athletes to that abuse, and that's not okay. And I think that that's what 2021 was supposed to be about. This is not okay.
Yeah. And I do think it's slightly telling that Bay FC had just recently hired a former Oregon coach to be a domestic scout. I don't know their name at the moment, but who had basically resigned from Oregon or been fired because of allegations against him, I believe for toxic bullying behavior as well. And Matt Potter, who has been in the league for a bit, joined Kansas City, and that was with Bay FC. He doubled down before public pressure got to them to actually do the right thing and let him go. But it is wild that could happen, that someone already has that reputation and you could still be like, yeah, but we're going to hire him anyway.
Graham Abel.
Okay.
But yeah, that's it was a big deal when the University of Oregon let him go last season. Mm-hmm. and because also he was part of, if I understand correctly, he was part of the U.S. Women's National Team junior program coaching staff as well. So yeah, like, you know, a lot of those players are obviously familiar with him because they came up through that system. So yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like it speaks to a problem of culture. And I understand that like when you're an expansion team, you have to be able to like um define your own culture, but like, and there will be missteps and there will be mess ups again along the way. These are not the types of missteps that can be allowed.
Yeah. Period. End of sentence.
Yes.
Hopefully the investigation is done thoroughly and yeah, there's just outcomes. That's what we hope.
I just hope that those players feel safe and heard and that they have an outlet that they feel like they can go to.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? Move.
Wouldn't be a Alonso conversation if we didn't have to have a conversation like this.
Right. I joked recently on here that we should change the She Believes Cup to the Believe Women Cup. And because of the rampant abuse in women's soccer, I was joking, but now it's like, maybe we should. Maybe we should.
I mean, yes. Yes. Yes.
Anyway, onto something a lot more fun. I know you'll have fun talking about this. Today, breaking news today, Gareth Taylor. For some reason, Gareth Taylor sounded just weird in my mouth. Gareth Taylor. That's his name, right?
It is. It's weird. It's weird.
I don't know. There's something weird sounding about it. Anyway. Gareth Taylor.
It like, oh God.
The now former Manchester City women head coach, now former, parted ways at the club to your joy and relief. But in the past couple of weeks, he's been linked to joining what you call the circus previously, Angel City FC, to fill their head coach position. And since you're an expert on all things City women, as well as Gareth Taylor by
proxy. Under direct
under duress, you are a expert. So I was hoping you could tell us how you think he would fare in our beautiful league, and if you think Angel City has a squad that you think he can work with and be successful with.
How would he fare?
And maybe the answer is no. How would he fare?
I'm not sure that he would know what to do with the pace of play in the league. Like Man City has this phrase, same city, same passion, right? So like a lot of the way, like the club as a whole tries to play the same way a lot. And like
I really love the club propaganda you're giving.
All right.
Same club, same passion.
Right, exactly. But like Gareth Taylor's been a part of Manchester City's system since like he started as an assistant coach for the boys academy when Pep took over. So like everything that he knows as a coach has been like more like possession based football, and that is not this league. And
it's not really league, Angel City.
No, and like because they have a lot of players that probably could adapt their game to what he wants to do, and what the players on his roster, like he won't adapt to what the players on his roster are. And I'm not sure like what the relationship between him and Mark Parsons would be like, because having Mark Parsons be like the person that's basically saying like, I am the one that's scouting all of these players and I'm the one that's bringing them in, like, and you will coach them, like, kind of sounds moneyballish, right? Like,
Um,
Gareth Taylor, you like coach these players the way that I want you to coach, and I'm not sure that that's necessarily going to work. And I don't know if he wants to possess the ball, and if he can play on the break, but like there's his players set him up to play on the break that he has now, and like it's not like he's anticipating that break based off of what he's drawing up on the chalkboard. I don't think that Angel City I would not hire him, like, if I were Mark Parsons. But like, I mean, and I've heard conflicting reporting about that as well, like, will he, won't he, sort of thing. I don't know. I don't feel like he would fare well in this league. And I think that, like, because I think a player like Sid LaRue is going to tell him to his face about himself, like, and like, and you have to think about like what his resume is. Like, this is the same man who, like, in one summer ran off like his entire midfield and a fullback, like, ran the like, um, so, like, obviously, like, and like if you look at I believe Ellie Roebuck posted something on her story right after the news broke. Right. Um,
said good
like,
riddance.
basically, um, but if you look at that track record, like, who is there at Angel City, like Sid LaRue and Kristen Press and Sarah Gordon, like, they're not gonna stand for that, like, at all. And I think that like it's been made painfully apparent that, like, Gareth Taylor is not the type of football coach that relates very well to other players. And like, you can get away with that if you are so good tactically, like that, like, oh, I can't, argue with, like, I can't argue with him. Like, he's putting me in the right spots. And I'm like, I'm having a banger season,
Mm-hmm.
that stated, like, that can only last for so long. Like, Jose Mourinho knows all about that. But um yeah, I think that that's the type of manager that he is. And like, I don't, I think that the pace of play of the league in general is probably going to, like, jar him. Like, if he does take the Angel City job, like, I don't think that he will be ready for the types of, like, for example, 2 seasons ago, Manchester City played Brighton, and Brighton won that match at the Joy 1-0, and like scored in like the 88th. They scored in the 88th minute, um, at like on the road. Manchester City had like 25 shots, like 16 on target or something, like a ridiculously gross game. In retrospect, that is a quintessential NWSL game where like, can you imagine, like, Lauren Donaldson, like, I'm gonna pack the paint for 89 minutes.
Mm.
Oh, and then I'm just gonna release Jamise Joseph through Mal and hit you with this 87th minute winner and win, you like, smash and grab 1-0. Like, that
Yeah.
happens in this league a lot.
Mm.
And I don't think that he'll be ready for that.
Yeah. My first impression was like, oh, he's gonna flop. He's gonna flop so hard.
Oh, like, yeah.
But you mentioning, like, me imagining Sydney LaRue having a conversation with him is actually so funny. It's just like we're writing the fan fiction here, and I just, like, it's actually hard to conceive them in a room, like, sharing conversation. Mark Parsons, I I do think he has done, like, when he was with Portland, a really good job with player IDing, with some of the, obviously, Morgan Weaver, I mean, Sam Coffey, some of the players that he brought in. And um, but who knows if this will actually happen, but it would be very interesting. The timing of, Gareth Taylor leaving, very interesting.
I guess I just find it all interesting that this happened in this manner, especially since Angel City, Parsons, earlier over the weekend announced
Right.
hey, Sam Lady's going to be our interim coach until at least June, and we'll hire a new coach at the end of the season. Some of them have WSL links, and I just wonder if this is one too many times Gareth, you embarrassed me. We're gonna play the Manchester Derby at the Etihad. Oh, you let Ella Toon score a hat trick. You're embarrassing me. Oh, here is
get your grievances on.
national treasure Chloe Kelly struggling to get playing time, and then has to go to Instagram and say, I can't control when people do bad things to me, but I can control how I react to people when they do bad things to me, and I am ready. Can only take so much. I think even if you, and that's another oh, you embarrassed me in front of company. You think back to Georgia Stanway's interview when she was got to Bayern, and all of the things that she was not saying, or all the things that she was saying by not saying some of the things that she was saying in that interview. Yes.
The subtext is loud.
Correct. You embarrassing me in front of company, and I have a feeling that it was just one too many times. Okay, you're embarrassing me in front of company. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. I'm so excited to see what happens there.
Oh, we got that old thing back.
You got Nick Cushing back.
Right.
So maybe you'll run it back actually.
Who knows? I mean, honestly, he can salvage the season if we get a domestic cup sweep and still manage to qualify for Champions League.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't really care what you guys do. And that feels good to me.
I mean, I'm sure.
It's liberating. Anyway, moving on to another team where it's very unclear how the season's going to go for them. Portland. Sophia Wilson announced this past week that she is expecting. Congratulations to her and her husband, Michael.
Congrats to both of them.
Great news for her. But not great news it's a challenge for the Thorns. We'll frame it that way. It's good news still for them, but it is definitely a big challenge, especially when you put in the context that they also recently announced that Morgan Weaver, Marie Mueller, and Nicole Payne will all be missing the season due to injury. Add that on top of Christine Sinclair, Becky Sauerbund retiring, Kelly Hubley leaving. There's a lot of veterans on the team, a lot of faces that have been the core that are not there this season. And I'm troubled by that, especially seeing that I don't have a lot of confidence in Rob Gale. Seeing what he did last season.
I still can't believe
how is he employed? I'm scared for their season. I saw Kim McCauley post on Blue Sky something like, I could see Portland finishing both having a terrible season, finishing at the bottom of the table, and also surprising people and finishing top 4 or something like that. It could go, I guess, either way, because they still have players that I think are very strong. But with all of this change and losing Sophia Wilson, my bad, who, everyone knows that she is just a game-changing player every game, could get you a goal even if you're playing totally shitty. I'm worried for them. How do you feel?
Oh,
not that I care if they do poorly, but I'm just
I mean, Thorns fans, you are
They've been
going
blessed.
through a lot.
They've
You're
been
going through a
blessed.
lot this season. You're going through a
Yeah.
lot this season.
I think it's a cycle of they were blessed for a long time, and now they kind of have to go through it.
Yeah, and I I haven't actually like picked like what I think the order of the league is, but if I was gonna pick somebody who was gonna win the wooden spoon, it's Portland. Like I don't.
Mm.
I mean, where are their goals gonna come from? How are they gonna stop people from scoring goals? Like that. I mean, I don't like. You have to
Famously,
be
the two things you want to do in soccer are score and stop
and stop
scoring.
the other team from scoring. And sometimes you can get away with not having one if you're really, really good at the other. And you can like have a decent season, maybe. And then like maybe decide to like, and then you can take that on a playoff run and like get hot through the playoffs and like so let's say that you're a great defensive team, and then all of a sudden you like hit some shots you don't normally hit. Cool. Like we won the cup because of that. I don't see a path for them to do either one of those. Like who's scoring the goals for them?
Yeah, we have Raylan Turner, who they got last season.
Okay.
Alexis Spanstra, who I thought was underutilized after she went from Kansas City, because I really liked her. I think she's underrated. They also brought in Pietra Torden, who's a under 20 international, under 23 maybe. And then you have Jesse Fleming, who wasn't really a factor much last season, kind of growing pains. But also, I think from what we saw with her at Chelsea, like never really catching on, could never really grab onto, a spot in that starting 11 for a long time. Dana Castellanos also, who you know about.
I do.
Who you know about her.
I do.
Are there any of those players that you think they could step up? They could be kind of that person.
First of all, Dana Castellanos plays so much better for country than she does for club. Like that is one thing that you will notice quickly about her. For as far as for maybe Raylan Turner's so young. Like that's a lot to put on her. Tordine, if obviously is young, that's a lot to put on her as well.
Right.
So I guess you're just like banking on like a bunch of kids like saying like, oh, you know what, we don't know any better, like we're just gonna do it. And sometimes that can work, sometimes, but like I feel like you have to have the coach that's going to put them in the right position. And what has Rob Gale done in this league that would lead you to believe that he would be able to put players in that position to make them be effective?
I can't think of anything.
Okay. Then like then I think that they're going to be really bad, like really, really bad. And like I could come back on your show in the middle of the season and like,
Please.
and then we find out like, oh, I was wrong, and I will hold my L if that is the case. But I don't foresee that being the case.
Yeah. I don't either. I do think I like that they made Sam Coffey the captain. That is, I love seeing her take the armband. I think it's interesting that Mackenzie Arnold is the co-captain there. I mean, her being there at all is so funny to me. So
Faces are
wild.
being
I was
made.
when
So
they brought
many
her
faces
in
are being
when
made.
they brought her in last season. I was like, what joke are they playing on me?
Like it's wild because last season when Bella Bixby announced her pregnancy, she like we went into the season asking like, wow, how are the Portland Thorns going to like, what are they going to do at goalkeeper? They really have an issue there in the middle of the season. they signed Mackenzie Arnold. And now, Emily, I ask you the same question as the 2025 season begins to unfold. They really have a problem at goalkeeper. What are they going to do about that?
Well, what was interesting in particular, like the season before Bella announced her pregnancy, like Shelby Hogan, if you remember, she started that playoff game against Gotham. It was kind of a signal, like, of course, they didn't have a very good defensive season. I do think Bella had a couple of, what do they call it when a goalkeeper fucks up? Yeah, a couple of those. But so then, I thought Shelby could be a good replacement. Turned out that they didn't have a lot of faith in her. Now I'm rooting for Bella to reclaim number one. Hopefully this time away has re-energized her, refueled her. I thought she was, when she first stepped into the scene in the first Challenge Cup before she got injured, we were like, holy shit, we've got a keeper on our hands. Maybe potential U.S. international. She hasn't really caught on in that way. But, now I'd like to see her between the sticks because Mackenzie Arnold.
Ooh,
respect to her. But
I mean,
tough.
We could ask a lot of questions about a lot of people involved with Football Australia, but I think that we should not talk about that. Because I would be very sad.
They're such a hot mess. Like, it's so entertaining to me to see, like, just the wacky ways that they continue to be a mess.
If I were Football Australia, I would probably call Matt Beard every day until he told me, until he either told me yes or blocked my phone number.
Which outcome do you think would be more likely?
I think that Football Australia has very long pockets, and so I think that they would be willing to pay. So maybe not what they might just pay him what Gustafson made, maybe not as quite as much, because I think some of his contract was bound to World Cup performance or something, but yeah, I probably wouldn't hate that for them, but
yeah,
whether he would say no or not remains to be seen, because I don't know what he wants his next challenge to be.
Well, they could ask you to coach.
Oh no, they don't want that. No.
They
don't want that. No.
Okay, well, I put you up for it. I nominated you.
Okay, I mean, thank you for sending me to Melbourne. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Figure out how to eat Vegemite the correct way and
kill those giant tarantulas. I guess I don't kill them, but
I mean, just the animals alone let you know that humans probably should not live here.
Yes. This was not meant to be inhabited by humans.
Correct.
Wow. Well, good luck to them down under.
Right.
We're finally going to talk about what an interesting match, the Challenge Cup. Interesting. I guess first we'll discuss our takeaways, but I think what sparked a little bit of debate and a little bit of, I like when people get hot and heated on social media. Seb Hines' pre-match rallying cry that Washington Spirit didn't deserve to be playing in the Challenge Cup. People felt a certain type of way. Did you have any feelings about that? What'd you think?
I mean, his team just won a double, which is almost impossible to do in this league. And his team just did it. Do you know how difficult it is to motivate professional athletes after they've achieved the highest achievement of that league?
I know I know how hard it is to be motivated. So yeah.
So yes. So They don't like. I feel like they're him saying that is like, I'm saying this to get the attention of my players, not necessarily to like, yeah, I know the Amazon TV cameras are going, but like if Washington gets a wind of it, that's fine. Like that's on me. But like to motivate my players, particularly for this match, yeah, I mean it's like I'm gonna tell them like this is supposed to be between the Shield winner and the winner of the Cup. Well, guess what? That was us, both. Like this is an inter squad scrimmage. Like they don't have any business being here.
How
like,
funny would that be to watch?
Right?
On Amazon Prime, an inter squad scrimmage. Like that would get heated too. That would be entertaining.
Oh, I think it probably would get more heated than like the actual match did.
Which
and
was
that's
chippy.
saying something.
That was chippy.
Which was chippy.
We saw I think it was Phoebe McCutcheon maybe, and sorry if it wasn't, if I'm slandering you. Like totally just armbar someone off of the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
It was people are getting spicy, but I like it. I like any kind of drama. We need more of it. We need more hate in our hearts. As long as it's not anything that's actual hateful. So that's kind of a contradiction for me to say. Not real hate, just banter and
like good sports banter that like is like it based in extreme dislike for those people that wear those colors over there.
Yes.
But they're still people. They are still people.
They're human beings. I thought like one of the most fun, entertaining times of last season was when Kansas City and Orlando, like when the feud began in Kansas City. Like that was like Helen of Troy is like the face that launched 1,000 ships. Like Marta's like dancing was the image that launched 1 million tweets.
Here's the deal. Like you can't beat up a player for a whole half and not score at home. That's I mean it's not in this league.
No.
Like you can't do that, and you did that. So I mean, from like if you put the shoe on the other foot, like if Kansas City went down to Orlando and like if it was reversed, like and put an end to their winning streak, well like and you had to come from behind and you had a red card, like that's an almost impossible circumstance. Like yeah, you would celebrate as well. Like so that's what's going to happen when you don't score a goal when you're up a player.
Yeah. But I invite more of that chaos. And to talk about this specific game, which was between Washington and Orlando, it kind of mirrored the championship game in a way, because in the championship you saw like the Spirit had like a lot of momentum in that first half, but didn't take anything for it. And then in this game, like Orlando, they were so much like more put together, so much more cohesive. And I mean, the Spirit have so many injuries. Trinity Rodman didn't start. They're still without Sarr, Corey Bethune. Andy Sullivan is now on, maternity leave. Like it is not the same Spirit team. Well, it kind of is because they had all those injuries at the end of last season.
Yes, it is the same, but like it's
same but different.
It's not the same that started the 2024 season.
Right. So it's still like some caveats, but like the way that this ended now with Spirit winning, after equalizing in a moment of brilliance from Lacey Santos and then winning the penalty shootout, just kind of a funny outcome from that game. Watching the game, was there anything that stuck out to you? Was there anything that, I mean, it's basically a preseason game. So
once Lacey Santos hit that banger of a free kick,
yes,
I knew that Washington Spirit was going to win the Challenge Cup, because I knew that it was going to go to penalties, like because it was like the match was too tight, and it wasn't like a tightness of like, oh, like this is the end of the season. It was more, or this was more like, oh, like, man, we're really not like 100% match fit yet. Like we might not be, completely ready. Um, and I know that Kingsbury is a better goalkeeper than Morehouse. So,
Goal
like, I mean,
house.
goal
Goal
house,
house.
goal
That's
house.
accurate. I'm still surprised that she's there. Like, it's crazy to me. Like, I know she has all these stats
No,
of
no,
like clean sheets because of
this is the craziest thing about Morehouse. She parlayed like that winning streak that Orlando went on and their great form into England Collins. Like she told Serena, "Hey, come get me. Like you see my form, come get me. I'm here. I am here." It was like, well, I
except
mean, I guess, come on.
except she's got Emily Sams in front of her. It's actually one of the funniest like cons happening right now in women's
Right,
soccer.
right.
Because
Like she
when
like
she first came to Orlando, she had like one of the worst seasons I remember.
she's I would not say that she is a particularly gifted shot stopper.
Yeah.
So when it came to penalties, I was like, okay, so the probably the arguably the league's one or two best, goal or penalties stopping keepers in Kingsbury versus Morehouse. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kingsbury every time.
Yeah.
And I think that was, to me, that's what made the Nadaner offside goal even more damning. Like I think it was like in the 85th minute. It
Can I
was
tell you
toward
a secret? I fell asleep after Lacey Santos equalized. I woke up as they were lifting the trophy and I was like, oh, okay, Washington, they somehow won. Interesting.
I mean, but didn't like feeling like
Yeah.
having fallen asleep. You kind of felt that too, right? Like
Yeah.
they're definitely gonna win.
Yeah. No, I was like, that was I mean, I guess yeah, with the way the goalkeeping situation is, you knew it was gonna go to penalties because you knew there wasn't gonna be extra time because that would be absolutely nuts to do
Right,
the week before the season starts. Let's play another
right,
30 minutes for no goddamn reason. Um, but yeah, I think it was a fun kickoff to the season still, even though it wasn't the best game. I think it showed that Orlando is still like I've kind of been of the mind that they're gonna have a sophomore slump, kind of trying to replicate like last season. Like I was like, Marta replicating that form, it might be difficult. Adriana is gone, blah blah blah. But you know what? They kind of showed like they're still like firing on like all cylinders, and I think Morgan Gautrat showed that she is gonna have, I think, a really good season after kind of like struggling through injury the last few years and trying to get minutes last season. I think that's like the most telling thing. Washington is hard to tell because, as we've said, like all of those pieces aren't still there, but they're deep. They showed that they can like still pull something out when they're not 100%.
right. And I think that for Orlando, I feel like with Adriana's departure, Allie Watts going to have to play a bigger role, and you saw her start to get a little bit more involved. With Washington, they scare me in that you have what is out there now, which is probably like NWSL average, and then like as all those players that you mentioned like get healthy, like Trinity Rodman, like Croy Bethune, like they're gonna have a bench where where Jonah Garcia's Heraldez is just gonna be like, okay, yeah, I got 10 minutes. I need to change the game. You two, come on, like
Narumi, get up.
exactly, like. So I mean, and they're gonna be able to do it. Like their bench is gonna like scare you, and like um that's what that scares me about them. But that stated, like the depth behind that that probably leaves a little bit to be desired.
Yeah. True, but that's like kind of third string action. So even
Yeah.
so, yeah. So before we get to our sending off, I want to, we have obviously we have the first match week coming up. Briefly, I'll run through who we're going to see play. On Friday, we have Pride versus Chicago, as well as Houston versus Spirit. And then Saturday, a rematch of last season's wild opener, Kansas City, Portland.
I will be there.
You'll be there reporting, tweeting, or blue skeeting, perhaps. Yes. You'll be skeeting, which is correct. I regret saying that. And then we've got Racing versus Courage, Royals versus Bay FC, Seattle versus Gotham, and finally closing out on Sunday, the SoCal Derby between ACFC and San Diego. Out of those matchups, which one are you most excited for?
I like to think of myself as a sicko, and on so many levels, like, yes, it is a derby match, and yes, like, there are big names in it, but based off of who is going to be involved, the Angel City San Diego Wave, like, that is just chef. Like, you got two different teams with brand new coaches. One doesn't have a full-time coach. As of the time of this recording, I guess I should say that part.
Tomorrow it could be totally different.
Totally different. And I mean, and the other coach.
I do.
See,
Mr. Jonas Eideval.
And you've had two fans that or two clubs that have had very tumultuous off seasons for various reasons, and like, just how are you going to deal with that, like, what does the product on the pitch look like, based off of everything that has gone on off of the pitch. I don't know, like, and like Kristen Press seems like healthy enough to actually like maybe play.
I'm so just like her goal last season, near the end of the season, just filled me with so much joy. I'm just like, if we can have, that kind of performance consistently from her, like, we're getting too much, that would be like, we don't deserve it. Like, she's already given us enough. But if it would just be so joyful to be able to watch that this season, I'd probably cry. I would.
Oh,
tears of joy. Just, we're both manifesting this. I mean, because it's not like that would actually bring Angel City to like the top or anything, but her alone is not going to.
I just want her to score one of those goals where, like, immediately that, like,
Kristen Press, what have you done?
It's like, exactly, that's like, oh gosh, that's goal of the season right there.
Yeah, we're manifesting. For me, other than Gotham, because it's my team.
That's your team.
I'm very interested to see Houston versus Spirit because of all of the off-season work that Houston have done. Obviously, broke my heart to see Delaney Sheehan and Yasmin Ryan leave and go to Houston. But I think they brought in a lot of other interesting players too. Kristen Westphal, Danny Colaprico. Like,
I don't know what that team is going to look like.
I have no idea either, but I'm excited to find out because I do have a lot of belief in Yasmin and Delaney. Delaney's super underrated, I think, was so instrumental in what Gotham did the last 2 seasons. And Fabrice Gautra, we have no idea, I guess, what he's going to be like. That's kind of like the X factor.
That's the wild card, I think. And like, I was like, is it going to be
Sean Nahas vibes? Like,
yeah, like, I don't know. Like, is it like what? I don't like. We have no idea what to expect of them, and like, shout out to Theo Lloyd Hughes. I heard
Shout out.
him talk on expected own goals earlier today, talking about how they might use three at the back, especially now with that Tarsiani has left.
Oh yeah,
Um,
that's a
which
big
I mean,
loss.
that's a huge loss. Like, I mean, and like you saw it last year. Like even when they did play three at the back, they were like whatever side that the most dangerous attacker was on, like she shaded that side. That was the center back side that she was, and she's that she did pretty like. To me, she was the one center back that I thought that like was able to athletically compete with Tim Chawinga in person. Like, and that's saying something because most center backs they ain't got it.
No, I mean, it's a lot to ask, I think,
Yes.
to be able to hand it to him. So I'm really excited to see that because, I mean, with who they brought in, like, I'm expecting them to make the playoffs, I guess, but it's also just because of like who made the playoffs last year. I think there's gonna be a lot of fluctuation, like we've seen. Like Portland probably won't make playoffs. It opens a spot. Like Seattle, like I think will still be floundering probably. So there's a lot of
See, I think Seattle might be a little bit better than we expect.
a little bit more better, yeah.
A little bit more better. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, when you sign the player who has scored the most goals in league history, like
yes,
that usually like bodes well for you.
Yes.
Because I mean, their biggest problem last year was that they couldn't score.
Yeah, that's been their problem for many years.
A long time, very long time. So like now they're gonna at least have one option that can score. Now whether they have a midfield presence, that's a totally different.
That was a big question for me too. So we're excited. We're excited for it to start. Okay. Finally, this is my favorite segment. Signing off. This is when we pick something in soccer culture, soccer discourse. Maybe it happened during a game. Maybe it's in the news. It pissed you off. You hate it. You're sick of it. You want to show it the red card. You want to send it off. ThomBomb, would you like to go first? What are you sending out? All right.
I am.
I'm eager to hear.
So, much to your chagrin, yesterday at Meadow Park,
No.
No, hold on. I'm not doing this to bring up misery for you. I promise.
Okay.
Liverpool did beat Arsenal 0-0 or 0-1, advanced in the FA Cup.
Yes.
Apparently, there were some individuals in the stands at Meadow Park making sexually inappropriate comments about Liverpool defender and captain Taylor Hines.
See, I don't know how I'm hearing this for the first time on here. Continue. Disgusting.
Here, I'll read you the story in the BBC, which does not have a credited writer, which makes me think that
it's AI.
I know.
Fuck. Give that a red card too.
Yeah, give that part a red card too. Liverpool defender Taylor Hines says she is determined to make a stand after being subjected to sexually inappropriate comments from a fan during her side's women's FA Cup victory at Arsenal on Sunday. Hines said she heard the comments while down with a head injury during Liverpool's 1-0 win. She and a teammate reported the comments to officials, and a member of the crowd was removed from the stadium. Liverpool and Arsenal released statements on Monday condemning the abuse Hines suffered. Hines, who captained Liverpool, said it was, quote, hard, end quote, to continue playing following the comments. Quote, I will not let the actions of one individual ruin what was a fantastic day for the team and our supporters, but it is not okay, and I was determined to make a stand, end quote, or the Jamaican defender said. Quote, It was hard for my mom and dad to realize what was going on and to find out later what was being shouted at their daughter during a game of football. I'm fine and doing and would like to thank my teammates and everyone at Liverpool for having my back, as well as the match officials for their swift actions and everyone at Arsenal for their assertive actions and backing. Together we can continue to make our sport better, both now and for years to come. Okay. So I get that as a cishet man a cisgender man. As a cisgender
Everybody.
man in women's spaces, especially women's sports, like it is my responsibility to bring stories like this to light. So if there are any men out there listening to this,
My
very
dad.
important, like, hey, please, you do not go to any woman's workplace and harass her. Like, that is not okay. I don't even care if you work there with her. Do not harass. If she is at work, do not harass her. Like,
Or in any time.
or any
She's not
time.
at work.
Perfectly honest, but like, that's not why she's there. Like, she's not there to like hit it off with you. She's not there. Like, this is not like Bumble or Tinder or whatever the professional sports people app is that they have for athletes. No, you can't be saying things like that to people. Like, this comes down to like, yeah, we cannot like those people over there with their whatever color shirts, but I also understand that they are people, right? So stop harassing these people. It's not okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's disgusting. It's very unfortunate to learn that happened. I'm glad both clubs stood firmly and swiftly and took action, and fuck whoever that guy was. You're not a football fan if that's how you're behaving
Correct.
at a game. Well, my sending off seems much more frivolous in comparison, but we're still gonna do it. We're still gonna do it. So this week, I'm sending off Amazon's broadcast of the Challenger Cup. Because what do you mean you're cutting away from live play to do an interview with Grant Hill on the sideline? What do you mean you're cutting away from live play to show a months-old social media clip of Marta re-signing with Orlando? Like, there is a game happening. Who's directing this game? What makes you think we don't want to watch the game? And we want to watch these, still images of Orlando celebrating their championship victory. Like, what is that? That also, like, every time they mentioned that this was the Challenge Cup final, it's a one-off standalone game. It's a community shield. Mike Watts said that Santos's goal was the latest equalizer in the history of the Challenge Cup final. How are we comparing this match to when it was an actual tournament? And finally, and most importantly to me, I'm sending off Amazon holding any broadcasting rights to NWSL at all because I was so close to canceling my membership because I don't want oligarch Jeff Bezos, who's ruining and running the Washington Post, to get my money. And then I remembered that every Friday night there's a game on Prime. So I hate having to decide between my personal beliefs and watching the NWSL. Please take it out of my hands, NWSL. Say goodbye to Amazon. Send them off. Give them a red card. I don't want to see them again. The polos that they wear during the commentary, like, ew, it's gross. Please stop it. Okay. I lost ThomBomb during my rant. Well, you can follow ThomBomb at ThomBomb816 at Blue Sky Social. Please follow him. You can follow the Shades of Blue podcast. Follow Shea Butter FC. They're doing so much fun content. You can follow me at Emily Higg, Blue Sky, as well as Instagram, Twitter if you're still on there. I'm not really. And then follow the Sending Off podcast at Sending Off Pod on those platforms as well. Please also, if you would, rate, like, subscribe, review us. It would be so very helpful. And yeah, everyone enjoy the start of the NWSL season. Bye.